I want to check out what the freaking 10 worst towns in the United States has to offer by World According to Briggs.
Real estate in a town that doesn't suck? Me too. What is going on, everyone?
I know nothing about this video. I think it came up in my recommended. I was like, I'll watch that on stream.
World According to Briggs, let's take a look at something we haven't done in a while. The worst towns in the United States. We did this video back in 2017, and I figure it's time for an update. Things have changed. Some towns have gotten better.
There's gotta be a Wisconsin one, right?
And Alaska slowly becoming the new Mississippi. Shockingly, Mississippi didn't make the list this year. If we would have done 25,
try harder, idiots. Be worse.
Spot and the 13th spot. Cities are slowly falling out of fashion, and more people are looking outside the cities and the suburbs to build their life and buy their homes and whatever they want to do.
Yeah, all these Zoomers are going and living in the sewer grates outside. I live at Quick Trip sometimes.
In and outside the house.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Ring doorbell cam while somebody steals your Amazon. These are things nobody really needs in their life. Today we're looking at towns you shouldn't move to because they're horrible. It's that simple. And just to save the
Las Vegas, Nevada.
What is considered
Hudson, Wisconsin.
US, according to the U.S. Census, and pretty much most people, a city's population has over 100,000.
Tampa, Florida.
Large towns.
Sweats in Michigan.
Between 50,000 and 99,000.
Shout out Michigan, dude.
Towns have a population between 25,000 and 49,000. Small towns have a population of 7,500 to 24,000. Village and small communities are less than 7,500 residents. Now, I know that goes against what most people think. Everyone assumes that a town maybe has 1,000 people. No, it doesn't matter if they call themselves a city. If they are below that population, technically, they're a town. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look.
I sort of get it.
Number 10, Selma, Alabama.
Selma,
Alabama is a historical city, especially when you start looking at the civil rights movement. They're also losing population because the town is horrible these days. In 2010, they had almost 22,000 residents, and in 2020, they had just under 18,000 residents. Selma, Alabama had been gaining population since its creation up until the 1970 census. 1960 was the last year they gained. 1970, they started losing. Now, in 2000, they actually gained 1%, but then they went back to losing population. I think it's also worth noting that California, North Carolina, Indiana, Iowa, Oregon, and Virginia all have Selmas, and they all suck. Here's an idea. Don't name anything else other than a goldfish, Selma. Selma, Alabama has a crime rate
that's a terrible name for a goldfish.
Higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 97% above the national average.
Why would I name my fish after the 10th worst town ever?
And their poverty is pretty high. Their per capita income is $15,288. The average for Alabama is $24,736. Comparison to the rest of the United States, which states are different, so you got to kind of compare a city to a state, not the national average, because cost of livings differ and all that other stuff. But the average income per capita in the United States is $29,829 currently. So in Selma, Alabama, they're averaging about half the national average. Number 9, Amerleus, Georgia. Amerleus is a town in Georgia of around 15,000 residents, about an hour southeast of Columbus, Georgia, and about a generation away from being a great place to live.
Whoa, that guy's from Georgia. People from Georgia be like, I got the fish eye on and I'm laughing. That's hilarious.
And most of the time it's because the locals know the place and don't want to live there and have moved away. Amerleus is the poster child for that theory. Most of the homes for sale right now in Amerleus are
I just call Austin hot.
With, I'd say, majority of them being under $90,000. Amerleus has some great history and a lot of crime. Their crime rate here is 168% above the national average, and their violent crime rate is 188%.
How much crime? Oh, he told me immediately. But could he growl about it? Then I'd listen.
Their income per capita is $15,837. Like we said earlier, the national average is about $29,829. So roughly this is pretty close to half. But when you compare it to Georgia, they look a little bit better because Georgia's average income per capita is $26,678. Now, one thing I will say about this place is it's starting to look like there's a little bit of revitalization going on, so I'm not sure how much longer Amerleus will be on a list like this. They might be turning it around, but we'll see.
Amerleus is a weird name for a town.
Number 8, Globe, Arizona.
That is also a weird name for a town.
East of Phoenix, Arizona, and if you're a snowbird thinking about, maybe Arizona's the place for you, it might be. Globe isn't, but the rest of Arizona just might be. Globe isn't too far away from a small town called Miami. Don't let it fool you. It's nothing like the other Miami. Miami, Florida is filled with
This guy's
people
crazy.
people
He knows
on
the names of everything
Miami,
that is
Arizona
also named
still
other
a lot
stuff.
of people that don't fly.
And look at
But
that
go visit
dumbass.
Arizona outback in the hills east of Phoenix. I saw a video where a guy was talking about the crime rate in the area, and the dude being interviewed said that the crime was so high because of the open borders, and people are coming across the border to commit crimes in Globe. The interviewer guy says, "We're 3 hours away from the border," and the guy looks at him puzzled and goes, "Really? It seems closer." But the crime rate in Globe is 254% higher than the national average.
I wouldn't name a town Globe. Me personally, nah, I wouldn't have named it that.
Their income per capita is $21,000.
But hey, that's just me.
The
Open
Arizona
salami.
average is $26,600.
Thanks for subscribing, dog.
So that's not the worst on this list. The good news is there's not much to do up there, so you don't have a lot of opportunity to spend what little money you make. Number 7.
I'm not moving there. He didn't sell me on it at all.
Bishopville sits about an hour east of Columbia, South Carolina, and about 30 minutes west of Darlington in case you're into NASCAR. Head out to Darlington and watch a race. If you do, don't forget your Confederate flag t-shirt. That's required outerwear in this part of
Never
South
mind,
Carolina.
I will
Along
not
with
be going
trucker cap
there.
that says something to the effect of, "Pull my finger." Bishopville
Wow.
is a nice little town that has a lot of potential. It's also got a lot of poverty and a lot of crime. Their crime rate is 201% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 247% above the national average. When it comes to the income per capita, in Bishopville it sits at $13,422, which compared to South Carolina's average, which is $25,521. So Bishopville, they're less than half the national average of $29,829. That's pretty bad. The good news is it's dirt cheap to live here and housing's very inexpensive. Number 6, Lake City, South Carolina. Yes, we're staying in South Carolina for another gem of the South. Lake City is a town of almost
I hate
6,400
the South.
residents.
I'm
It's
just
losing
kidding.
population. Now, they've only had 2 census in their history where they lost population, so that kind of tells me it hasn't always been in bad shape. Normally, when you see a town
Shivers
that
with
has a declining
excitement.
population
Shiver
for
me
like 4
timbers.
censuses,
I'm from
it
South
grows.
Carolina.
Censuses are
Everywhere
census
sucks, I
anyway.
guess.
When you see them slide like that decade after decade, you know the place has sucked for a very long time. Lake City really
This
seems
dude's a
kinda
savage.
into the whole places to avoid type list. Right now they have a crime rate that's 157% above the national average. Their violent crime rate is 345% above the national average. Their income per capita, it's not great, $17,910. Just like we said earlier, the South Carolina average is $25,521. So they're not doing great. The good news is they sit about an hour northwest of Myrtle Beach, so they've got something to do when they're really depressed about how much money they make.
Gotta go, but still cool. Thanks for hanging out, K-Dog.
Personally, but that town has a high crime rate.
That town sounds like it has a high crime rate for me personally.
California.
Yeah, they're kind of lucky I don't live there because I do a lot of crime and I'd bring that number up.
Well, if you have to move to Barstow, it's more like when life gives you lemons in Barstow. They're probably toxic, so you should drop them and move someplace else.
This guy sounds
Barstow's
like
been
Brandon
working
Buckingham, and ever since I have thought this, I cannot
Paperwork went through to
unhear
turn
it.
this place into a town or whatever. It came across some state official's desk. The first words out of his mouth or her mouth was, "Why?"
Have a good night,
Barstow
Austin.
sits about 2 hours
Oh, no, you're talking to
east
them.
of Los Angeles and about 2 hours west of Las Vegas, and it's usually the
Fuck
place you stop
Vegas.
and pee when you're driving to
Fuck
Las Vegas.
Arizona. I'm really
When you do
learning that
you go to
America is
one or
not
two
great. That's the vibe I'm
McDonald's
getting from this video.
Try and pee in Denny's without
Imagine being
because they all come, or at least they used to.
casino1.com
Barstow does have
or
a
whatever the
meter
fuck
system,
it
so
is.
It's not all bad.
Best
Barstow's
casino
really
bonus,
not a good
300%.
place to move to, really. It's kind of like Denny's. You never plan on
Austin
going to
doesn't
Denny's,
sleep.
you
That
just
is
end up
true. He
there
has
when
children.
you're inebriated. Barstow's the same way. Barstow also has a crime rate that's 122% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 285% higher than the national average. The income per capita here, now keep in mind this is California. Things are more expensive, so this money really sucks. Their average income per capita is $16,897. That's not good. California's average is $31,000.
I'm glad he told me that wasn't good, 'cause I honestly
They're
wouldn't have
almost half
known.
of California's average. If you ever look at pictures of someone's backyard and Barstow, it's often confused with the surface of Mars, so keep that in mind.
That's...
Number 4, Bastrop, Louisiana. Bastrop sits about 2 hours east of Shreveport in between Despair and Regret. This is a great place to be from, as in past tense. Nobody should live here unless they enjoy fishing and crime scene photography.
I
This
love
isn't a great
both of
place to
those
live,
things.
but it does have a Popeye, so you know it's legit. The population of Bastrop is about 10,000 residents, which is down from 12,000 in the last census. So they don't have a lot of people, but they do have a lot of crime and poverty. The crime rate here is 290% above the national average. Their violent crime
You can't
rate is
have a lot,
86% above the national
a metric,
average.
a lot of crime if you don't have a lot of people to do the crime.
$26 a year
This math isn't adding up.
average. Louisiana average is $25,515. The poverty level here is actually 178% higher than the national average. That's not good. Number
That's
3,
not good.
Salem, New Jersey. Look at that. New Jersey made the list. It didn't include anything about the Sopranos, toxic waste dumps, or high taxes. Those are 3 things.
I don't get it, but okay.
Salem is about 30 minutes south of Wilmington, Delaware, across the Delaware River, and about an hour and 20 minutes northwest of Atlantic City. It's also only 35 minutes away from the Palace of Depression. Yeah, it's a real place. Here it is. Look, Salem has been losing population since the 1950 census, when they peaked at 9,000. You know things aren't great. But I
God,
realize
just
they peaked
give me a
before-
second. The Palace of Depression, and then Lonnie says, high school? Yeah, zing! The comedic timing was impeccable.
This started making music. Yeah, Salem's seen better days. Now, one thing I do like is they have a lot of really cool old brick buildings. Most have bars on the windows, but that should be expected when you see the crime
When you're
rate.
in a
The crime
prison.
rate here is 132% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 431% above the national average. Now, here's where it gets really ugly. The income per
Not to
capita
get too deep
is
into conspiracy theories, but I don't think you can have 400% crime when there's only 100% of stuff.
$37,538. Yeah, that's
The government doesn't
and
want
New
you to
Jersey
do
is above
math.
the national average, and they kind of have to be because New Jersey is expensive and they have extremely high taxes. I love New Jersey's thing. It's like, we kind of suck, but we're going to charge you like we don't. I've said that before, and it's very true about New Jersey. Number 2, Benton Harbor, Michigan. I know a lot of
And
people
if you
think that Michigan
fucking,
is
if you were in a football game and you got tackled and you got all dirty, and then you went home and then you took a shower and got hosed off after you were done playing football, and then you fucking came back to play football, you'd probably want to, like, if you repeated the same thing, you would probably wear a new jersey.
for their quota for places that suck. I mean, you have a lot of places in Michigan that truly do suck. Detroit, Flint, and now Benton Harbor. What's really bad about Benton Harbor, it's really close to some really nice places. Benton Harbor just is horrible. Benton Harbor sits on Lake Michigan, about an hour and 45 minutes away from Chicago.
Yep, there it is.
Which
And
about
boom
90
goes the
miles,
dynamite.
Probably 70 if you're a good swimmer. It also sits about 45 minutes north of South Bend, Indiana. You can go down there and watch the Fighting Irish play. Benton Harbor is one of those places in Michigan, and really it's happened in a lot of these Rust Belt states where they have so many abandoned homes that they've actually just mowed them down. Saves people from vandalizing them, and in Detroit's case, a lot of people were just setting them on fire and homeless were moving into them. So a lot of these
God, that's
towns
so
have
much
just
better than
chosen to
vandalizing them.
mow them down. They bulldoze these homes that are been abandoned over the years. Benton Harbor has a lot of those.
I'd
They even
hate
got
if
a
someone
bunch of
vandalized
that
it with
are
something
boarded
other than
up, and
fire.
they haven't got around to mowing them down yet. It's really sad. I kind of, I know I make fun of these places and stuff like that, but the history and
Do
the loss
you?
of manufacturing jobs
You're an
in
asshole,
this
dude.
part of the country is just really depressing.
I don't know this
And
guy.
It's something that I don't know. I don't know what you could do. I'm not an economist or anything like that, but it just seems like there should be serious efforts to bring back our auto industry at whatever they can do. It just seems very important to this country. I mean, it's still here to a degree, just not like it once was. Benton Harbor has a crime rate that's 171% higher than the national average, and buckle up for this one, their violent crime rate is 723% above the national average. That is freaking brutal. Their income per capita
Please
is
don't say swears on my Christian channel.
$10,980. How do you survive on that? I don't mean to laugh, but Michigan's average is
He's laughing at the poor.
$549. Wow. That's just rough.
We can't all be making the big bucks off my watch later. Okay,
All right,
buddy?
before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's
Jesus
a link
Christ.
down below. Also, as far as this channel goes, please. make
That's a
sure
good
you guys
idea
give
for
it
a
thumbs
channel,
up. It helps
actually. What the
support
fuck?
channel, and I'd
I've had a Twitter account that I used to run that had the same concept, but I didn't keep up with it, obviously, because I've never mentioned it ever in my entire life and forgot about it until this very moment.
really appreciate it. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Nome, Alaska.
Nomi.
Joke that says I told him to kiss
Alaska's
me where
not
the
in
sun doesn't
America.
shine, so he drove me to Nome, Alaska. You can't drive to Nome, Alaska. It's next to impossible. This one is so far up there. It's one of those towns where night lasts like 6 months. Yeah, it's that high
Jesus
up there
Christ.
in Alaska. Nome sits on the Bering Sea. It's about an hour-and-a-half flight from Anchorage.
I want to go
You
to
can't drive
Alaska.
anywhere from
Sounds
here.
terrifying.
I mean, there is a road that goes up to Teller, Alaska, but why would you want to drive there? There's nothing there. I can't imagine why anyone would want to live in Nome, Alaska. I mean, do you like just snow all the time? And maybe you're into dog sled racing or something. The Iditarod ends here. When you see the stats on here, you really start to think, why would someone live here? Now, this is the absolute worst
Why would
I've
someone
ever
live here?
seen for a violent crime rate. So here we go. Their overall crime rate is 158% above the national average. Their violent crime rate is 984% above the national average. What are they playing, the Hunger Games here? This is alarming. Since the 1920 census, they've only had one census where they lost population. That was in 1980 when they went from 2,357 to 2,301. Yeah, but they've gained population ever since. Now, I get it. If you're an Inuit person and this is your culture, your people's land, I get why you'd live there, why you'd want to live there. But why anyone else would, it's beyond me. They got to be paying pretty good. But from what I can see, they aren't. Unless they don't add up the people working in town for some kind of, I don't know what they do there, oil, minerals, or whatever. But their income per capita here is $29,558. That's pretty good if you're living in Mississippi, not if you're living in Alaska, where everything's very expensive. The average income per capita for Alaska is $34,191. That's, yes, above the national average, but it is expensive to live in Alaska, especially this far up. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, stay away from these towns, be nice to each other.
Jesus Christ, he really hates these fucking towns. Shout out World According to Briggs. That was a pretty good video. I mean, he told me the worst towns. He's basically like, these are all the towns where you won't make enough money to live in. The chances of you dying are the highest. I guess that sounds pretty bad. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Slap a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you guys for freaking watching. You're the best. Until next time. Peace.